Morning, everyone, on this sunny July day, July the 26th, 2024, the day the Olympics opens in Paris. So, firstly, I need to apologise for my voice. I have the tail end of COVID, so I sound a little bit like I've been singing karaoke for hours, but I haven't. And so we're going to be thinking about the Olympics today. And I'm coming at this as someone who's not sporty. So if you're a big sports fan and a very sporty person, feel free to scribble some things about sport. As usual, I'll be thinking largely about memories. I do like a nice bit of memoir writing. But you can write whatever you like. So let me go down. I'll be spending the next hour prompting you with some thoughts, memories, and stories about the Olympics. You're very welcome to jot those down or just to listen. I understand that some people enjoy listening and thinking up their memories and get enjoyment from that rather than writing. That's fine. Whatever you want to do is fine. If you do scribble a few things down, please feel free to pop them in the comments. And I will read them out for others to enjoy. Let me just make sure I am on the right one. Yes, I am. I can see comments, not sure I can add any, but that's fine. We'll see how we go. That's probably right. Okay, so for those of you who are going to be doing some writing, remember it's a bit of fun. Don't worry, there's no right or wrong. I'm just giving you prompts. You do whatever you like with them, as long as they're shareable online, obviously. There's no right, there's no wrong. Don't worry about spelling and grammar. But be mindful, if you find any of this triggering and you're feeling uncomfortable and you're finding it upsetting in any way, just stop. It's supposed to be fun. Don't do anything that's not going to be a fun activity for you. So the first thing I'm going to do is a quick warm-up then to get our creative muscles working after a little while. I'm going to give you the sentence starter. The Olympics is. I'm going to give us probably 5 minutes. 5 minutes. The Olympics is. List everything that comes to mind. Just finish that sentence in a list. And if you get stuck, go back to that sentence again. So the Olympics is, do me a list. If you stop, go back. The Olympics is. Or the Olympics isn't. If you're stuck. So 5 minutes on my mobile. I'm going to go quiet while I do my list. And feel free to say hello in the comments as well if you are there. It's nice to know if people are there. There we go, 5 minutes on. 1 minute just to tidy up. Okay, so 5 minutes up. The clock won't ping because I've got it on silent. So I don't know how you did with that. How did you get on with your list? Mine took a direction I didn't expect. So here we go. The Olympics is an international sporting event, a rare chance for people of the world, nations of the world, to come together to take part in sport or to witness from their own environments the athletes from their nation taking part in sporting endeavours. It's basically a competition. It's a 4-yearly event hosted by a different nation each time. So it's the prompting for regeneration and rebuilding programs in the cities and countries that host them. And I believe that there's funding that comes with that to a certain extent, which is why a lot of countries are keen on having it. So there's a big bidding war to win the right to host the Olympics, isn't there? But it's also without funding. So I know that the cities then seek private funding to build the stadiums, the accommodation and the infrastructure that they need. And that can be successful or not, if I remember past news items. The Olympics is something that nations bid to host. It's quite competitive bidding. It's an exciting opportunity for athletes at the top of their game to show their skills and expertise in their sporting area. And I guess that's the original impetus of it, isn't it? Going back to basics, it's about athletes and their sports wanting to show that they're the best at their game. And it's something that those athletes have been working towards every day for many years. And for many of them, in fact, their entire lives. Athletes often start at a very young age, don't they, to become the best in their chosen field. So, yeah, I can't see comments. I wonder if I can get them on my phone. I'll introduce the next thing. I hope you got something useful out of that. I'll see if I can get on the comments shortly. My computer's decided to log me out, but I'll give you a prompt and we'll see what I can do. So, as I say, I hope you found something useful from that. Later, you could go back to the pieces that you've pulled out. If you are someone who likes to return to your notes and tidy it up into a piece of writing, it'd be lovely to see those. So, I've got here some bits about the history of the Olympics, which you may know already. And I would thanks to BBC Sport and BBC Bite Size these things. Sadly, I printed them off very small. The history of the Olympic Games. The Olympic Games began over 2,700 years ago in Olympia, southwest Greece. So they don't know the exact date when it started, but they think it may have been, let's find it. No, can't find it. Too small. But they took place every 4 years and were the biggest sporting event in the ancient calendar. The Greeks loved their sport, and around 50,000 people came from all over the Greek-controlled world, Greek-controlled at that time, to watch and take part. The games were also a religious festival dedicated to Zeus, the king of the gods. Events were running, at that point, were running, discus, javelin, horse racing, and chariot racing, wrestling and boxing, which were both a lot more violent. There were hardly any rules for either. In wrestling, the only things competitors couldn't do were bite or poke people in the eye. The toughest event was a wrestling event called the pancration. And apparently wrestlers were naked and covered in oil. And some boxers and wrestlers even died during the matches. They were so violent. And there was a long jump, which was very different to the long jump as it exists today. Athletes took part in the long jump from a standing jump, holding weights to give them momentum to go forward. Only men, boys, and unmarried girls were allowed to go and watch the Olympic Games, and athletes had to be male, of Greek origin, and freeborn, so slaves couldn't take part. And all athletes competed naked. There were no weight classes in wrestling, in boxing. This is anyone who was false starting on the racetrack. When they have a false start, they have to start again. They would actually face corporal punishment. They would hit them. They would beat them up for a false start. Now, there were no gold, silver, and bronze medals as we have nowadays, but winners were rewarded with a wreath of a crown of leaves, and then they were famous. They had a hero's welcome when they went back home. They were immortalised for winning. The ancient Olympic Games ended in 393 AD, more than 1,000 years after it started. So, and then in modern Olympics, the first version of the modern Olympics took place in 1896, with 9 sports contested: athletics, cycling, road and track, fencing, gymnastics, shooting, swimming, tennis, weightlifting, and wrestling. These sports remain in the Olympics program to this day, but others have been and gone. Some that have been and gone are obstacle swimming, dumbbell lifts, an underwater swim, and running, deer shooting. Although no live animals were used, thank goodness. They're just 4 that took part but then dropped. You don't want me to list all of them. Feel free to go to BBC Sport for these. It's quite interesting. But it's saying that the Paris 2024 Olympics will mark the 33rd edition of the modern games, though 3 of those didn't take place because of World War I and World War II. And there are some new, each host is allowed to suggest new events in every year. I did have somewhere it was saying how many this year, but we need to move on to some writing. How many and what the new ones are this year? Go to BBC Sport and it will tell you. I think I did see breakdancing. Breakdancing. If I find it, I'll tell you. But okay. They're also known for. So there have been advances in the Olympics. Lots of famous changes over the years. So people now take place in the Olympics. Women that take part in the Olympics. Working class athletes take part in the Olympics. So athletes from across all ethnicities. And I'm thinking of the German Olympics that are very famous. Was it Jesse Owens? Is that the name of the Olympiad who took part in that? We have the Paralympics now, which is fabulous. And I saw a thing here that said that the modern Olympics will be the most inclusive. The inclusive Olympics to date, which is fab. And it will be opening at 6:30 British Summer Time this Friday, today, 26th of July. So that will be on television, the opening ceremony, which apparently is taking place on the River Seine and has drones that will be taking part. So that should be a fantastic spectacle. Here we go, gender representation. At the first modern Olympics in 1896, 241 athletes competed from 14 countries. At Paris 2024, this number is estimated to be 10,500 from 206 nations. These Olympics will be the first games to achieve full gender parity, with the same number of male and female athletes competing. That's 5,250 men and the same number of women. So there you go. Lots of political boycotts over the years, and doping scandals, and the Munich Olympics that was overshadowed by a massacre. So because they have such a huge international platform, they have been used for positive messaging, positive to affect positive changes, but also as by people to highlight political activism in a negative way, as well as affecting positive change. Huge topic, the Olympics. So the first question to ask you, what do you think about the Olympics? Are you for or against? Do you think they're a good thing or a bad thing? It's not the right nation, I'm aware this is Roman gladiators, but are you a thumbs up to the Olympics or a thumbs down? Do you enjoy watching the spectacle? You think they're a fantastic opportunity for international sportsmanship? Or do they take up too much television time? Are you missing your regular programs? So just write one paragraph about your thoughts about the Olympics. What are your thoughts on the Olympics? I'm going to just give you 5 minutes on that and see if I can get on the comments. So I will see you shortly. Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. Didn't realise it was muted. Thank you. Sorry, I'll read mine again. That was a long spiel that I'll do it again. So I was saying that my memories of taking part in sport at school were not, I wasn't successful. I wasn't a successful athlete at school. And so it wasn't really a positive experience for me. I wish it had been different. And I might have felt differently about sport now if they had. But here's what I've written. So, though I'm not particularly a sports fan myself, I recognise that many people are, and that the Olympics, taking part in it and viewing it, brings a great deal of pleasure to many people. Also, human beings are social animals, and coming together, whether physically or virtually, in a shared endeavour is good for us. It's been shown through research that it helps us feel connected and less lonely. It gives us a shared topic of conversation. So from wherever we're from and however different our day-to-day experiences, we have the shared story of the Olympics that we all watched across the world that we can talk about. At its best, the Olympics gives us something to root for together, an opportunity for people we respect and look up to model values that are important to us all if we are to get along together. And I can't believe I'm saying this at this age from the experience I had in childhood, but sport, movement, is good for us, whatever level we practice it at. And having an Olympics, there are elite athletes, but it has such a positive effect on people who watch it and then decide to go and do some sport, whether they're young people who watch and think, I'd like to be on there one day, I'd like to be that athlete. Or they're people who think, I'm going to go and join some swimming at home. They may not want to compete, but they're inspired by what they see. So, my apologies that the mic was muted. So let me see, 11:30. That was the history of the games. So here's my favourite bit: memoirs of the Olympics. So, do you have any memories? What are your memories of the Olympics? Have you been to one? Have you been to one as a competitor? Perhaps as a volunteer? The London Olympics in 2012 wouldn't have happened without the volunteers who gave up their time to go and take part. And I know people who did that. And they came from all over the country. I think they had more people offering to volunteer than they had spaces for. But I remember the buzz that created for the Olympics for people around the country. Have you been somebody who's worked at the Olympics, maybe doing the building work to get stadiums ready, accommodation ready, or the infrastructure ready for all the thousands of visitors who will flock to cities to take part and to watch? Have you been a spectator? Were you lucky enough to get tickets for an Olympics? And again, I know people who you had to not bid, what's the word? It's like a lottery, wasn't it, to get tickets for London 2012. And again, I know people who were very lucky to win that lottery and get tickets and went and really, really enjoyed it. Are you somebody who did that? Either here in the UK or elsewhere. So what's your story? What's your story with the Olympics? If you've never been, do you have a memory of watching it on television? So I remember really strongly in the 70s watching the Olympics with my siblings and my dad. My dad loved sport. My brother's very sporty. And that was one of those together moments. I remember some of the fabulous athletes of that time that we watched, famous names, but the strongest memory of us sitting together, watching it communally, rooting, cheering, gasping when our nation's athletes didn't win, or when they did, that memory of sitting in a 1970s front room watching the Olympics. Do you have a school memory, a memory of discussing the Olympics at school? I, as a primary teacher, I was partly responsible for planning a unit of work for Year 6 on the Olympics. And I remember also in several schools I worked in, the big telly being wheeled into the hall so that those children who wanted to could go and watch events. Also, that would have been for the tennis. But for sporting events, the big telly going in the hall, and somebody having to do activities with the children who didn't want to do that. Did you see the opening ceremony in London Olympics on 2012? Again on television. Can you remember the James Bond and Queen sketch where the Queen parachuted into the stadium? It was very clever. Absolutely fabulous opening ceremony. Very cleverly put together. And the other fabulous communal thing they do for the Olympics, the Olympic torch travelling the UK on its way. In fact, it travelled the world, didn't it? Was it from Greece to the UK, or from the previous Olympic city? I'm not sure which, but it travelled the UK definitely, and came through the town that I live in, and people were chosen to carry it. The school that I worked at, we went and lined the route and saw the flame coming through the town. So memories of the Olympics, and 5 minutes for that. I'm not going to mute this time. I'm just going to write. One more minute. Okay. Okay. It's a bit rough. COVID is fogging my brain rather, and there's words I need that just aren't coming today. Now here we go. It's rough. So I was in London for a course on coaching writers. The week leading up to the London Olympics in 2012. The Olympic torch passed the city centre venue it was held in, and I narrowly missed seeing it go past. Too intent on sorting out what I was having for lunch to remember that it was happening. My family were staying in London with me, taking the chance of me being there anyway to spend the days sightseeing in the city, and on one of the days, jumping on public transport to go check out the newly built Olympic Park with its, now put statue, what would that, I can see it in my head. There's a big structure that looks like a scientific symbol, and I can't remember what it was called. It's got a name, but they went to check it out, to walk around the Olympic Park with its statues. The place was teeming with excitement, they said, and at one point a car pulled up and out jumped a group of young athletes, pressing T-shirts and Olympic memorabilia on the family, teenagers, before jumping back in and driving off. The whole of London was buzzing, in fact. Sadly, we weren't lucky enough to have tickets for any of the events, or to be able to afford the astronomical spike in the hotel room fee once the games proper began. So, on the Friday night that as the course ended, we caught the train out of St Pancras heading home just as the crowds for the opening were heading in, and we arrived home just in time to watch it on television. So there you go. It's a kind of a side memory of the Olympics, but it was a memory nevertheless, and a fabulous one of people coming together, just in bars and restaurants of an evening, people talking about it. The buzz was absolutely fantastic. I can see why cities compete to have it, because it has such a positive effect. But there will be negatives as well. I know there are negatives to renovating parts of cities so that they can accommodate athletes. It's not all positive, is it? Right, okay, we have 12 minutes. Let's do this quickly then. Champions. My last activity is about champions. So I live in a university town. It's not uncommon for Olympic athletes to bump into Olympic athletes. But have you ever met an Olympic athlete? Are you an Olympic athlete, in fact? You may live somewhere where you meet international athletes. You may be an athlete yourself. You may have gone to an event where they were competing. So it's not just the Olympics. There are athletic meets frequently, aren't there? Up and down the country, across the world. Then athletes often visit schools. Have you ever met an Olympic athlete visiting a school, or have you been on a visit somewhere? Like we were in London, and it's not uncommon to bump into people in big cities in any nation, is it? Are you someone who coaches athletes? Have you coached Olympic athletes? I was David Thompson was on the One Show the other evening, and he mentioned all the help that he had that got him to be a gold medal winning Olympic athlete, and his discipline's just gone. It'll come back to me. He was saying that he said the phrase, it takes a village to raise a child, and it definitely took a town, a country to help him, to raise him as an athlete, which reminded me of something Gary Lineker had also said, apparently. Thank you, Catherine. Decathlon, that's it, yes. Gary Lineker said, this was about the football the other night, but it's a very true thing. Gareth Southgate's team are drawn from all corners of the country, and they are playing tonight, not just for themselves. Every parent, guardian, teacher, and grassroots coach who's mentored and developed them, this is what it means. A thank you to those people. It takes the primary PE teachers, it takes the coaches in towns and across all nations. It takes parents dropping young people, taking the time to take young people to their practices and encouraging them to go to practice when they don't want to. So yeah, it's a family supports our athletes and the people along the journey. And in David Thompson's case, people who gave him a bed for the night when he couldn't afford to a hotel room, or gave him lifts or stuff. So for me, thinking about how we contributed is part for me of the watching. It will make a difference to me when I'm watching the Olympics tonight, the opening ceremony, to think of we've all contributed in some way, and even by watching, supporting those athletes and rooting for them and expecting them to behave in a way that we value, and applauding them when they behave in that way is part of what makes the Olympics and what makes them athletics. Thank you, Catherine. Daley Thompson is the person you think of when you're thinking of the Olympics. Mary Peters is somebody who comes to mind. She was such a lovely woman and seemed so gracious about her achievements and about the achievements of others. That for me, the Olympics for me is the graciousness in victory, but in defeat. So we have 9 minutes. So do you have a story of meeting champions? That's one thing. Do you have a favourite athlete that you watched? What was it about them that you liked? What makes someone a true champion in your eyes? Or if it's not an Olympic related story, do you have a story of a time when a village or a town or a support network helped you in something that was significant for you? So yeah, champions. What is a champion? A memory of a champion. Might manage 5 minutes on this one. 4 minutes. Go. Mm. Okay, we're going to need to stop if we're going to get this done in time. Ooh, I hope you got something useful from that. Let me get our fact here I need to get right. I'm trying to find nope. No, okay. That's annoying. It's annoying. All right, okay, so I've ended up with a list actually. Catherine, let's read yours first. It will be no surprise when I say Daley Thompson. His achievements seemed truly heroic to me as a child, and he always came across as a thoroughly nice man. Yes, he did, and he still does. Great sense of humour too. I'm looking forward to watching the documentary. Yeah, me too. Haven't seen it yet, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed his brief chat on the one show the other day. So memories of champions for me. The father who ran onto the track to support his son to finish the marathon. Can't remember where it was staged, but I just remember that image of the athlete so tired, and the father running on and supporting him. I can't even remember whether he got the medal, if he was allowed the medal. Probably not. He probably wasn't anywhere near the front, but just that act of we're supporting you, son, I'm here. So I've put Daley Thompson giving his medals away in thanks to those people who'd supported his journey to championship, and he's still thanking them now. The huge impact acting as volunteers at what was then called the Special Olympics had on some my siblings who have Down syndrome, seeing people like themselves achieving in such a positive environment, and lots of them, big groups of people like themselves, difference, a place that was accepting and celebrating and championing difference, not being a negative, just being a difference. A huge positive effect on them. And the champion of others, I think that's the in a nutshell for me, the Olympics. It's champion, that word champion. The championing of others. It's not the denigrating of others, but championing of others. The Olympics, when they model the best of humanity. And the last bit was the story of the athletes who took the knee. And I can't remember, I know it was Black Lives Matter. And I think they got disqualified for it, didn't they? But yeah, having worked for those accolades all those years, they had the bravery to stand up for something, to show the world something that they believed in. Yeah, fabulous, absolutely. Bravery, brave champions, definitely. Okay, that's it. We're done. I hope you got something useful out of today. If you're, please, if you tidy anything up and put it in the comments, we can read them later. That would be great. But thank you for joining me. It's been great. I'll see you next time.